Hello, everyone, and welcome to our masterclass on the Facebook advertising secrets Facebook wants you to know, yet most ignore. I would like to welcome our speaker for this session, Mr. Deepesh Mandalia, founder and CEO, SM Commerce. As an agency owner, founder of the BPM method for Facebook ads, and e-commerce store owner, Deepesh provides full lifecycle support for advertisers of all levels as part of his mission to improve the world of advertising. His breakout success with Facebook in scaling an e-commerce business from $800,000 to $26.5 million in 18 months caught Facebook's attention, where he now acts as an advocate and external advisor. Welcome, Deepesh.
Thank you.
I would request all the delegates to keep posting their questions and in the chat box, and our speaker will address a selected few. Over to you.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thank you for the introduction. It's always funny hearing your stuff back, but it's all good. It's all good. So the Facebook advertising secrets, Facebook want you to know. So, for anyone that's advertising on Facebook right now, people are always looking for the hacks. What are the things that people are doing that, we can fight against Facebook, we can fight against the algorithm, etc. I'm going to show you the things that Facebook want you to do and they reward you for. Because if you want stability, if you want profitability, scaling, and all the kind of things that give you a great campaign performance, if you actually follow what Facebook want, you'll get far more stability with far less stress and anxiety than trying to work on the next big thing, the next big hack, etc. So right now, someone somewhere is converting your prospect into a customer with Facebook ads, and they're doing it consistently, predictably, and profitably as well. And I guarantee a lot of these people have no clue how they're doing it as well. So there's no kind of mastermind blueprint thing that you're not aware of. But I tell you what, a lot of people are having success with Facebook and a lot of people don't really know how as well. So I'll give you some examples of some of our recent successes. 10 million plus e-commerce apparel brand. They came to us and they were struggling for performance and things like that. And they wanted to figure out how they scale up. But the interesting thing was when they came to us, although the ad account was a mess and the exclusions, all the technical things, the pixel, there was lots to improve from the Facebook point of view. But they were still crushing it. They were absolutely still profitable. And they were at the 10 million mark. They were doing this without being Facebook experts. Take, for example, the second example that came to us and we helped them to grow as well. 7-figure e-commerce furnishing brand. They had scaled up. They had scaled up to 100K months and they didn't really know what they were doing. Or the 8-figure impulse buy dropship store that again came to us and, they were like, we need your advice. We need to get better at Facebook advertising. Guys, you're doing 8 figures. You're doing something right. But there's a commonality here. And actually, there's an example of a few different screens, and I'll just come back to those later. But there's commonalities on how they're able to get these kind of results and have this kind of impact. They are not Facebook advertising pros. Here's the thing. They do understand 4 simple principles of advertising and of marketing. So the common problem for so many people out there, so, I've audited so many ad accounts and, in the e-commerce niche, CPA affiliates, lead gen, digital products, etc. Number 1 is a weak core advertising strategy. I'm going to show you what a good strategy looks like. Number 2 is wasted time in ads manager chasing hacks. Number 3 is working against Facebook's machine. And 4 is a lack of repeatable process. That creates the anxiety and stress that most media buyers actually end up with. So I actually interviewed someone for one of my podcasts last week, and she cited a survey around the different types of job roles and the anxiety and stress levels. And actually, funnily enough, media buying was included. And I think it was at the top or in the top 3 of the most stressful roles in the online space. And I can understand that because I've spoken to so many people. So today, this is for you if you're running e-com ads, digital info products, local ads, affiliate CPAs, and you're after stability, predictability, and profitable results with Facebook ads. Focusing on growing your business and serving your customers, because that's what it comes down to for real growth. This is probably not for you if you're new to Facebook advertising, or if you don't have an existing product or service to sell or to promote, or if you believe that Facebook ads will solve all of your business problems. Like, Facebook ads doesn't solve anything. Facebook ads makes things better. or if you don't care about your customer service, or you prefer shortcuts with no effort, one of the things I talk about is shiny ad strategy syndrome, SAS. What happens is, and I have my own Facebook ads group, I'm in other Facebook ads groups. The most common things that people are asking for is, what's the latest hack? You know, how do I duplicate my ad set 50 times, run $1 a day? Or can I buy a new business manager? Can I go into new ad accounts? Can I delay my pixel? Can I have 3 pages, 2 ad accounts, 7 business managers, whatever? They're all hacks. They're all short-term hacks. And I understand that in the affiliate world, it is cutthroat. I've been here before in my own space of kind of developing in the digital space. And there is a time and space for sometimes where these hacks can be beneficial. But if you're looking at true growth, and I'm talking about 7-8 figure type of growth, then you need to move away from the hacks. Since 2014, which is when I really started to have success with Facebook, the story has been the same to what it is right now. Higher cost, more competition, Facebook's dying, algorithm problems, new ad products from Facebook, new hacks, new policy issues. And if you go back to 2014, it was a very different time with Facebook advertising than it is right now. This is kind of how it was. It was, Facebook was at a time where people were just buying off of Facebook ads. It was like literally you couldn't kind of increase your budgets fast enough to keep up. But things have changed. Right now, the consumer does not trust you. They don't trust your ads. They don't trust your product, your lander, etc. So you have to work a lot harder to get that click and get that sale as well. And I ran a survey a few months ago to ask my community what the biggest problems were. Number one is yo-yo-like performance. So if you're advertising on Facebook right now, you know CPA is great, ROAS is great, and then it tumbles and it goes great and tumbles, and it is difficult to kind of get right. Or actually, it's hard to understand the numbers to make the right decision. So, okay, my ROAS is down. What do I do? What do I look at? What do I improve? What do I not break? Or, if it comes to scaling, you increase your budgets and ROAS goes all over the place. Like, they're the most common issues. So if you're in that position, you're not alone. Does any of that sound familiar to you? So with rising costs, more competitors, policy issues, unpredictable performance, global issues affecting economy and Facebook and things like that, the question is, what should you do? So here's the solution. Stop advertising on Facebook. And that's the end. Hopefully some of you are still here. Let's change that story. Let's not figure out, what all the problems are with Facebook and start complaining, Facebook doesn't care about me, or Facebook are charging me more, or Facebook this. Why don't you actually look at what you can do? Control the things in your path, your products, your promotions, your offers, your landers. There are far more things in your control that I think that you're probably not aware of that can influence your results without worrying about what Facebook and your competitors are doing. Facebook ads can be and are frustrating. Facebook themselves have great insights, but mostly it's not actionable. Facebook groups contain hundreds of ideas and opinions, but who do you trust? Majority of YouTube advice is from unprofitable amateurs, and the top 1% of experts keep their secrets locked up. So where do you turn? So this is where I've come into this space. So to give you a bit of background about myself, about 20 years ago, I started off as a website developer, and I used to code in HTML, design websites, coding in PHP, etc. And then I fell into project management. And then from there in 2005, I luckily fell into e-commerce. And I say that because I didn't enjoy my career before that until I hit e-commerce in 2005. And my first role was essentially a website manager. So I had to manage the content, the analytics, the insights, the usability. Essentially, it was conversion rate optimization, but it wasn't called that back then. It was just a website manager. And that's where my hunger grew to find out more about this online world of marketing and kind of getting deeper into it. And from that, I learned on-site SEO, I learned off-site SEO, paid search, affiliate marketing, email marketing, etc. So between 2005 and kind of 4.5 years down the line into 2009 is when I learned a ton of stuff. Then in 2009, I lost my job. So I was in the corporate world. The economy around the world is in trouble. Lost my job in 2009. And actually, I went into depression because at the time, I just got a new house, bigger mortgage. My second child was born as well. And then I got the bombshell to say you've lost your job. And it took me 3 months to find a new job. So this is at a time in 2009 where the world economy has been hit. And I thought, I've got great skills, 4.5 years of website, CRO, online marketing, it'll be great. Problem is, every job I went for, there's like hundreds of other applicants. So I didn't stand out. Fortunately for me, affiliate marketing saved me. And I say that because it's not just that it helped me to generate an income. It took me into a different life, which was, you don't need a job to get paid. Like, that was my mentality before. I went through uni, typical Indian family, you need to go to uni, you need to go and learn and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know anything different. That's what I was taught. But in 2009, I learned about this thing called make money online. So I fell into that path. And within 2 years, both myself and my wife, working from our bedroom affiliates, etc., were working 9 to 5, and we actually took our affiliate business into the 7 figures. And that was life changing. Like, that was the first realization that actually you don't need a job. This online space, you could probably do pretty well with it. However, I also quickly lost it because I made some bad business decisions. It was the first time, what I would call first time founder syndrome. I thought I was king of the world, didn't really need to invest in anything else, let the team get on with what they're doing, didn't have any structure, any processes, etc. And I made one bad hire. So at that time, I was deep into the world of SEO. So I was dominating my my niche in terms of SEO and ranking. And I kind of let all that go. The reason why that's relevant is in 2012, although I lost my affiliate marketing business, I then needed a new traffic source. So then I fell into Facebook and I started looking at Google again and things like that. It took me 18 months from 2012 to 2014 to figure out the Facebook game and figure out what is it that makes it work. Because I'd come from SEO and affiliate marketing and paid search. For me, it was like present an offer, get the click and get the sale. But Facebook was very, very different. It took me a long time, a lot of wasted money and a lot of wasted time to figure it out. But when I did, that's when the magic happened. So in 2014 into 2015, it was the first success I had. So I took an e-com store that I was working for as a freelancer from 800K a year in revenue to 26.5 million in 18 months. And that was mind blowing to me afterwards. At the time, you don't see what you're doing, but afterwards I looked back and I thought, wow, that's insane. Caught Facebook's attention. And from there, I went all in on Facebook. So the picture you can see there, I was presenting in Bangkok, dressed up as a chef, was a one-time wannabe chef as well. But that's what I've now brought into everything I do, which is figuring out what are the kind of the mechanics of how you actually get action from the news feed, from Instagram, etc. And how do you convert a click into a sale? And actually, there are defined processes to do that. And right now, and going back years, I've never really relied on hacks. I know a lot of you will have tested out, multiple ad sets, campaigns, duplications, low budgets, high budgets, manual bid, things like that. I don't necessarily spend too much time on that. I spend more time on brand, and I'll explain what that means as well. So since 2014, like I said, I've made losses. In 2014 to 16, client side driven $40 million of sales, 17 to 20 more present, 50 million for clients. And since 2018, when I launched my program, I've helped students to hit over 10 mil. And what I wanted to just reflect on this point is I've probably been in your shoes at some stage, whether it's through affiliate marketing or working client side or working with clients or actually educating students. I've kind of been in all those spaces as well. And this is actually a picture of me, which I'm quite proud of, preaching this at Menlo Park and teaching Facebook product engineers and product managers how we actually did it as well. And that's kind of allowed me to go around the world and speaking at stages and things like that. So let's create a new story with Facebook. Let's make it affordable. Let's make it stable, scalable, easier, structured, and more predictable. But here's a big but. The problem is with Facebook, you have a platform which is designed like a Ferrari, but you have Facebook that don't really teach you how to drive this Ferrari. So, if you've followed Facebook's Blueprint training program, which I recommend people do, it's like taking a driving test. That's what Blueprint is. Now, if you've never driven a car before and you take your driving test and your parents say, hey, here's a Ferrari, well done, you're going to crash it very, very soon. And that's exactly the analogy I share with you for Facebook, because Facebook is exactly the same. Like, just look at this Ferrari. What are all the dials? What are all the options and combinations and things and stuff like that? That's how Facebook is. And that's where I think a lot of people get caught up. They sit in this Ferrari and they're looking at all these dials. Like, what can I change? What do I tweak? What do people say in that Facebook group? What does that YouTube video say? How do I actually make sense of it? And then they look at people's success, and people look at my success and think, wow, you've done amazing. 25K, 16 million, 26.5 million, must be amazing, right? The reality is this is what success looks like. I could draw this for my affiliate journey, for my agency journey, my training course journey, my ecom journey. It's always the same. There's always back and forth. I would say I'm one of the top Facebook advertisers. I believe I am. Even I can't launch a brand new account and have perfect success. There's always back and forth of learning and adjusting. So let's cut to the chase. How do we actually create results like this? So this is one account where in November, I think last year or year before, we took an account, we were spending 341K in the month and generated $7.1 million in return. Huge return on ad spend. And, we just couldn't scale fast enough. We didn't have enough products, etc. This is the exception. I don't want you to be looking at this and thinking, right, if I'm not spending 341K and making 7.1 million, then I must be doing something wrong. When you see screenshots like this, when I share stuff like this, or you see other people sharing it, it's the exception, not the norm. So, you need to look at what your results are and what your capacity is to hit ROAS and CPA and work towards that, and then learn from people and start to adapt and bolt things into your own advertising strategy. And essentially, my goal is to turn my user from someone who looks at my ads like that and to turn them into this. So let me show you how I go about doing that. So the first part of it is a slightly boring part, but it's goal setting. First of all, if you look at your pyramid of metrics, at the top of any successful business is lifetime value. Now, you might look at this, especially for the affiliate marketers, and say, what does lifetime value mean for me? Because I'm shipping off clicks, I'm waiting for my revenue sales, I'm looking for my commission, etc. I don't own the customer. My mistake that I made with my affiliate marketing is I had the same mindset. I said, I don't own the customer. I'm just going to send all my traffic to my merchants and I make money off the back. And I did. Bear in mind, at peak, we were driving, I don't know, 1 million plus visitors a year to our properties, our websites. I didn't have an email list. Now, in that, if you look at it, the reason why my affiliate business failed in 2012 is Google made some big changes. So anyone that knows about SEO and Panda and Penguin, I lost all my rankings. Like I went from traffic to no traffic literally overnight. And I couldn't do anything about it because I couldn't do any SEO magic to make it work because everyone was having the same problem. I was left in a position where I think my list was embarrassingly about 3,000 people on my email list. That meant that I couldn't pivot. I couldn't do anything at all. Now, with hindsight, if I could go back, I would list build. Because when I bring those clicks in, if I can get their email address, even if they go to that merchant, if I can somehow get their email address, if I have 50,000, 100,000 in my list, lifetime value, I can work on that now. Because if they buy through one offer, great, I'm tagging them in my data, but I can now start serving more and more offers. And the same thing applies with Facebook advertising. When I look at ROAS and CPA and things like that, that's just one side of the equation. The other side is lifetime value and how much can I squeeze out of them as well. So then you have below lifetime value is return on ad spend. So, that's a common metric people look at. And if you look at what's below return on ad spend, it's average order and CPA. ROAS is literally average order divided by CPA. So if you're looking at optimizing your return on ad spend, especially if you've got your own e-com store, then that's the metric you look at. If all you have is CPA because you're doing a CPA offer and you want to optimize that, then all you have is conversion rate and cost per click. They're the only two metrics that matter. More people you convert, the lower CPA. The lower you pay for traffic, the lower your CPA. And I think this is where people get caught up with so many different metrics. It's actually simpler than you think. Now, if you're looking at conversion rate versus cost per click, which one of those is easier to manipulate? Conversion rate is far easier to manipulate than cost per click. Because guess what? Cost per click relies on Facebook. It relies on your competition. It relies on the economy and things like that. Whereas a conversion rate is to do with your ads, your landing page, your experience, whatever it is, your retargeting and stuff like that. So when you're looking at hierarchy of metrics, this is how I break it down. So I would focus more on conversion rate than trying to tweak my CPM, my CTR and CPC to try and get good quality traffic in and convert it at a high rate as well. And then you go down to the Facebook layer. And this part at the bottom is really, really important. Maximizing advertiser value and optimizing consumer experience. This is Facebook telling you, this is what we want. Because if you give us what we want, we'll give you low CPMs and we'll give you the best users. That's honestly as easy as it is. If you give Facebook a great experience, So that means your ad gets served, your click-through rate is high, your bounce rate is low, your page load page load speed is low, conversion rate is high. You're giving Facebook everything it needs. If people are not complaining about your ads, your quality metrics are good, etc., that's all Facebook want. Because Facebook want a great user experience, which means people are not annoyed with Facebook. People are going to come back to Facebook. Because the thing is, if you run an ad, and I see this from affiliates, I see this from drop shippers and things like that. If you run an ad and it's terrible, users will tell you about it and Facebook will know about it. And you then get charged higher CPM, so it's more expensive for you to get that click. And you'll also get the worst users as well. This is where instability comes from. This is where the yo-yo performance comes from. This is where so many people get knocked out. It's actually simpler to fix than you think. So this is the BEAR algorithm, the BEAR algorithm, which is bid times estimated action rate plus user experience, which Facebook kind of put as relevance. Now, that's as simple as the inside of the engine. So everything I do on my ad accounts and everything I teach and preach is based on how can I get the best estimated action rate and user value via the relevance. Therefore, when I have that primed, I actually don't need to worry too much about manual bidding. So if anyone's used manual bidding with Facebook, it's very variable. It needs a lot more analysis and a lot more eyes on it as well. If you give Facebook what it wants in terms of great experience and performance, Facebook will automatically bid at a level that gives you the best users for the lowest price as well. So then what I do is work on bottom-up improvements. So I want to fix the leaks in my funnel before I push more traffic in. It makes sense, right? Because if you've got a bucket and it's got holes in it, you don't want to put more water in until you fix those holes. So it's improving your sales funnel, improving your ad funnel, and then pouring in more traffic. Because the mistake that people make is they see some success and they want to scale up, but you're not optimizing and finding those leaky parts of your funnel, fixing them, and then scaling them up. So hopefully that makes sense. I know the less kind of exciting stuff is so important. The second part, I believe, is the most important, and this is the offer build. Now, this guy here, I don't know if you guys know who he is. He certainly looks a bit different later on. This is David Ogilvy, someone I've learned a ton from reading his books and reading blog articles about him and kind of seeing how people have interpreted his work. And FYI, a lot of the kind of copywriting people, the marketers, the more people that you've seen over the last 10, 20, 30 years, they have many people have based their learnings off David Ogilvy. One of the cool things about the way he approached advertising was his approach around really understanding the avatar. Like I'm talking about almost being the avatar. It doesn't matter what niche he was trying to sell into. He got so deep under the avatar that he knew what their triggers were, what the emotional pains were, what the opportunities were, what kind of benefits and features would appeal to this person a lot. But one of the things I think people maybe overlook is how well he built up the attack against people's defenses. And what I mean by that is, if you're selling a product and someone doesn't click, or they click but they don't buy, why is that? What is it about the ad or the landing page that stopped them from clicking or buying? That's a big part of building the avatar. And you know, when you think about retargeting ads, what's the point of retargeting? The point is someone's come to your site, but they haven't added to cart, or they haven't clicked that link, or they haven't purchased. Retargeting is trying to get them back in. So many people default to the offer, but what if there's actually a trust issue? What if you need more testimonials? What if actually the landing page didn't explain the problem solution well enough? That has to come into retargeting. That's what we do when we build our avatars. So then I bring that in to what I call the advertising core 4: product plus audience plus offer plus funnel. If all you do is focus on these 4 elements of your advertising, you'll beat 90% of advertisers out there without even mastering Facebook. And in fact, this will work across any other channel as well. So what does this look like? So the product, do you have a clear solution or clear opportunity? So, you know, I know this is an affiliate marketing conference. When you're looking at your offers, think of it in that sense. Like, is this solving a problem or creating a new opportunity? That's generally what things boil down to. So if you haven't heard of Eugene Schwartz, read up on his material around the kind of problem solution matrix and how you bring someone from, for example, problem unaware, or maybe they are aware of the problem, into solution aware and the steps that you take, because that's exactly how you bring people into your world. Then the audience, how well do you know that audience? Do you know them intimately, that if you went onto the street, you could have the conversation and quickly identify whether this is your avatar or not? Then the offer. Now, offer isn't a discount. It's actually matching the desire and need. So that's what the audience have to the solution and opportunity, which is your product. So the offer sits right between your product or your service or your offering and your audience. And it's the messaging, it's the proposition, it's your ad, it's your campaign, it's your landing page, etc. Then your funnel. Can you actually convince and convert? And this is where I spend 80% of my time, if not more. The ad account comes after it, because if we can get this right, then everything else just falls into place. Most affiliates and CPA marketers fail on the product and offer. I know this because I've seen it time and time again, because it's quite easy to jump straight into an offer, start writing some copy, testing different audiences, cut if it doesn't hit a certain metric, continue if it does, and then you end up all over the place and you don't understand why you can't scale up, why my performance all over the place. This is kind of why. So what I suggest you do is to create 3C offers. Offers have to connect, convince, and convert. Build your ideal avatar, stalk them, know them, build those audiences up, and then link your product to your avatar to create your messaging angles. So any given product or service could have multiple angles. So I was speaking to a client actually yesterday. They have a children's toy. That children's toy is great. It's fun. It's engaging, things like that. But we actually talk about ad angles. What about for parents that have children that are stressed out? It's actually quite calming. Or what about for parents that have autistic children? Actually, it helps them to focus and calm down and things like that. They're the messaging angles that we can play on to create new campaigns, new ads, new landers, and see what works as well. So essentially what we want to do is to serve the right ad to the right person in our sales funnel. And that's how we build our ad accounts out as well. So really an offer on Facebook is supported by your product, your audience, and funnel. Your avatar helps build the ads, audiences, offers, and your funnel. So I build something I call the 5W avatar. So I have 2 Ws, which are what am I selling and who to? So for example, children's toy, and I'm selling it to parents, for example. Then the next W is what's the emotional pull? What's the angles that people can come into? So for example, it might be autism, might be stress relief, might be get them off the gadgets and things like that. Then the next W is the features or kind of functional elements of it. So it's the plastic material is safe, free warranty, free returns, whatever it is. They're the things that are the secondary reasons why people buy. Then the last is the most important W, which is why not? Why would someone not buy this product? Do they like us? Do they trust us? Do they know us? Do they have concerns around other parts of it? Is it safe for my 2-year-old? Is my 12-year-old able to use it? They're all potential barriers that we list out, and we build our avatar off the back of it. So to share you a few case studies of how this actually constructs and comes together. Case study number 1. So this is from 2015, 26.5 mil in 18 months, and how we did that. The offer was the most uniquely personalized keepsake gift for kids ever. The product was a personalized children's book. The avatar was adults that love children. So it wasn't just parents, it was also grandparents, it was also uncles, aunts, etc., etc. And that helps us to build our targeting. So we're looking for a mix of lookalikes, interest, broads around these kind of avatars. The ads were emotional and functional reasons to buy. So we split our funnel into 4 parts. So the cold part of the ad funnel is what most people call top of funnel. These are people that have not engaged, not clicked. So really, they don't know your product or brand. We want to connect the emotional appeal of the offer here. Then you move down to the next stage, which we call warm, which is someone who's engaged but not clicked. So they could have watched a video, they could have liked the page, they could have engaged on Instagram, for example. That for me is a warm audience. Now we're trying to push testimonials and user-generated content to try and convince them to take that click. Then our hot campaigns are people that have visited the site but not purchased. So they could have landed on the product on the lander, the add to cart, initiate checkout, etc. And now we start to play with testimonials, more user-generated content, bulk discounts as well. So for this product, we actually ran a discount, which was if you buy 2, you save, I think it was 5%. If you buy 3, you save 10%. Buy 4, And that is one way we actually increase the average order value as well. And then also playing around with reminders. So for example, hey, you know, if that birthday's coming up, don't forget, this is an amazing gift. So we're playing around with different styles of ad copy to try and bring people into that funnel and back into that journey. And then this is the final part that I think a lot of people miss out on is what about your existing customers? We have a fourth layer of our ad accounts where we're working on our existing customers, so referrals and repurchase. This brand had a repurchase rate of, I think, about 12 to 15%. So that meant that although people were buying it as one-off and they were bulk buying on the front end, we're also bringing them back on the back end. So on the one end, we're growing new acquisitions. On the back end, we keep generating more sales from existing customers as well. Case study 2, 16 million in 5 months. This brand were selling, so the offer we built for this brand was to make you look and feel your best on the slopes. That's as simple as it was. The product was high-tech ski snowboarding apparel. The avatar was simple. Adults 18 to 50. We also found that children 13 to 18 would nudge their parents as well. Mix of lookalikes, interests, and broads around that. But for us, the audiences were fairly broad. They had an existing pixel, so we used a lot of lookalikes here as well. And the ads were all about the feeling of looking great and feeling great. Like that was the kind of mindset we went into when we created the ads. So top of funnel, cool fashion, trendy, stand out, using influencers, for example. Warm part was influencers, and we had a stylist tool that the client created. Then hot were testimonials, reminders, and dynamic product ads, and then repurchase for existing customers. Really, really simple. And I think that's what I want you to take away from this is this isn't magic. This isn't, and you know, these aren't necessarily brands that they're already generating 8 figures and we help scale them up. In both of those cases, the first brand was making 800K a year. That's not a huge amount when you look at ecom. Second brand were making 2-3 million a year. Took them to 5 million took them to I think it was 16 million in 5 months. But they're examples of high scale ups. But we did the work up front. It took 4 to 6 weeks to do all that research and build. But when you put the time in there, it becomes far more stable and easier to grow. This is a great case study of a mum and pop e-com store. They were established, 6-7 years ago, and they were kind of ticking over $1 mil, $2 mil a year. But they really worked the offer and really found traction by getting into this kind of mindset. So the offer was nursing with stylish confidence, is apparel for postnatal mums. The avatar, women 18-45, lookalikes interest. So that part of it was easy. Ads were all about looking great and feeding your baby with confidence. So again, we worked on the different parts of the funnel and built our campaigns, our creatives all the way through based on that as well. And that's the simplicity of funnel building in your ad account and having that idea of where your offer is and how that translates to your ads. Now, to give you an idea of how we look at ads. So if you look at this ad on the right-hand side, some of you may have seen it before, some of you may not have. This is an example that I like to share around a strong offer that comes across as a strong ad as well. So I call this the 3N ads formula, the 3 nudges. When I create an ad, I want 3 things to happen. Number 1, I want you to stop and look at my ad. Number 2, I want you to engage with my ad. And number 3, I want you to take action. So they're the 3 N's, the 3 nudges that I want you to take. And this is a great example because the disruptive way that they've pushed their creative helps me to immediately decide whether this is for me or not. So this is a male grooming product. You could probably see what it's for quite quickly as well. Now, if you're in the market and you do want this kind of product, you'll immediately opt yourself in. If not, then you'll scroll by. That for me is a good ad because the thing about ads is you don't want the highest click-through rate. You want the best click-through rate. And that means you get good quality users clicking through. The amount of times I've scaled up 10, 20, 30K a day ad spends, and we've got low click-through rates, like 0.8, 0.91%, but the conversion rate is high because that's more important. The conversion rate is more important than the click-through rate. Again, they're calling out the ideal prospect. So you're grooming versus the guy that's stealing your girlfriend. So they've got a very clear avatar here. Connect with the pain point or opportunity. And the text is really, really good. Importance of grooming below the belt. Here is what men are saying. Feel more confident. When the bushes are trimmed, the tree looks bigger. Feel so smooth, etc., etc. This works for their brand. I'm not saying copy this. I'm not even saying take inspiration from this exact copy, but it works for their brand. And they opt people in that find this interesting and funny. And that's a way to disrupt people in the newsfeed and bring people in on strong copy and creative as well. It's the best offers that appeal to emotional basic human desires, the structure, process, and repeatability comes through actually following that path. Good offers and funnels beat Facebook ads mastery time and time again. So part 3 is now funnel build. How do we actually take all of that into building our funnel? Now, for a lot of people, when they run ads like a one-night stand. So you meet someone at the bar, you have a goal in mind, and that's it. That's as far as you go. When I run my campaigns, I'm dating my prospects because I want a more meaningful relationship. So that's how I build my funnels. I'm not looking at that first sale as fast as I can. I build the right funnel based on the average order value, based on the service, product, and niche designed for that. So for example, one thing I look at is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Have a look at that. If you haven't seen it before, go and search it. It looks at some of the basic human needs and desires. So at the bottom level, people need to eat, sleep, drink, etc. The next level, they need security, house, income, etc. Next level, etc. Where does your product sit on that? Because if you're selling bottled water, you don't need to explain the benefits of water necessarily. Most people know that drinking water is a necessity. But what's different about your water? Like, why buy yours and not someone else's? Oh, right, it's got electrolytes or something like that. Okay, I get it now. Then you might layer on and say, right, it's got electrolytes and it's great for sports people, or it's great for people who are doing a keto diet or whatever it is. Okay, that's an interesting layer. Now, then you start to build that kind of campaign up based on the fact that you're selling water. Here's the thing. There's another big company that also sells sugary water, which is called Coca-Cola. They do an extremely good job of it because they've layered up these the kind of building blocks on top of what is essentially a mix of water, sugar, color, and a few other bits on top of it. It'd be very hard to sell that without having those layers of, drinking Coke helps you have a great time. That's pretty much it. Like, what else is there that they're using apart from that? That's how they then communicate that, and they build a relationship with their user. And that's exactly how we do that as well through our campaigns and our ad funnels as well. So there's 2 types of advertising funnel types once you've gone through your ad account. There's the campaign funnel, which, here's an example here. You can screenshot it if you want. This is how we view our ad campaigns. So we have 4 layers in our ad campaigns. Each layer excludes a layer below. So our cold layer excludes warm, hot, and existing customers or users. Our warm layer excludes hot. Our hot layer excludes existing customers. And then within existing customers, we might have people that have purchased in the last 30 days, purchased in the last 1 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, etc. So that's kind of the granular level now of kind of building up that ad account so we can serve the right message to the right customer at the right time. And actually, Facebook reward you for that as well. That then ties into our 5W avatar. So we have the first 2 Ws, who are we selling to and what. Then we have our emotional whys, which we mainly play at the top of the funnel. Then our functional whys, so the features and benefits that we more going to bring out to warm and hot audiences. And then the why nots. That's exactly what we push into our retargeting. So you can see there's a step-by-step process. And this is, I know a lot of people won't want to put the work in, and you probably will go away from this and you won't take heed. But I guarantee you, come back in 2-3 months' time and tell me whether I was right or wrong with where your campaigns are. So then how does that look in terms of budget distribution and performance? So this is a screenshot from a few months ago of one of the ad accounts that has this implemented. And you can see the breakdown and the actual naming convention that we put in as well. Because one of the cool things about this is when you get your naming convention right, it makes analysis that much more easier as well. So we label our top of funnel 1_cold, then we have 2_warm, 3_hot, etc. Now you can filter your campaigns by funnel, and you can do your analysis and tracking based on that. So here, for example, in this month, we spent 100K for this brand at 2x return on ad spend. That's the 2 is their target. They have a really good lifetime value, and also they have a high conversion rate attributed within 14 days, which ends up being double what that is. So we know in a given space, if that is at 2 weeks later, we'll track back and that'll be at 4x ROAS. But we know that. So we know on a daily basis, we're tracking to a 2x ROAS, but we can break that down by funnel as well. We know that cold funnel has to at least be a 1x ROAS. As long as it's 1x, we continue scaling because we know that we're going to convert at 2, 3, 4, 5x ROAS down the bottom of the funnel. That helps our decision making. So we're not stressing out because our cold funnel is at 1x and our goal's at 2 and we know we want to try and aim for 4. We understand the step-by-step process here. And here you can see, for example, this is an established ad account, how that spend is split out. although hot is generating most of the sales, only 12% of the budget goes there. We want to put as much as we can into our bottom of funnel, but we can only do that based on performance and continuing to ramp up our top of funnel as well. So essentially, we're spending, 80, 70, 80 plus percent on essentially our top layers to generate the sales at the bottom of the funnel as well. So that's the ad account funnel. And let me take you through the sales funnel. So when we think about sales funnel, we think about, do we test to the homepage, to the product page? Do we create custom lander? Do we do advertorial, etc.? And we're testing all of those, looking at our goals. So it's not just a case of what's the front end ROAS, we're also looking at the back end lifetime value. So here's two example funnels. On the left, we've got one that converts at 100% ROAS. On the right, you've got one that converts at 250%. So obviously the one on the right is more profitable and we're happier with that. But then when you look at lifetime value, and these are just two examples that I brought up, the funnel on the left has a 5 times multiplier in lifetime value. That means that although our return on ad spend at the front end is 100%, so we spend $1, we make $1. In reality, for every dollar we spend over the lifetime of the customer, we make $5. Whereas this one, people are not buying again on the right-hand side. So for every dollar we make 2.5. So, if you look at these funnels, and this is why I get people to focus on lifetime value, is because you might be making the wrong decision on your funnel. Because if all you did, and this is for e-com store owners, or if you're running ads for someone else, you might focus on the wrong funnel. So just make sure you really understand what's going to make a difference for the business as well. So part 4 is then how you package that together and create your launch. So this is something I call graduation framework. So those of you that kind of have followed me, you'll know the name. This is how we construct everything. So we build the core 4, we build the 5W avatar, the 4 funnel system, which you saw, the cold, warm, hot, and existing customers, and push that into our account build SOPs. We have a process where we build the pixel, we build the ad account, the structures. We have a holding folder or a campaign in Facebook where we store all of our ads, and we turn that off and use that as a kind of base to kind of have all our ads and creatives. Then we go through what I call the graduation testing process. It's a 3-phase system where phase 1 is to find our best audiences. Phase 2 is to find our best creatives for those best audiences and kind of expand and now find more paths, more avatars, more angles, etc. Then phase 3 is all about stabilization, optimization before we hit scale. And this is why we're able to scale a lot more consistently. And that's why it takes a bit longer to get to that stable position. And then we're able to scale up without the stress of worrying about yo-yo results, because we're putting some time in. It might be a week, it might be 2 weeks to get stable results before we get excited and start scaling up as well. And this is kind of just a whiteboard that I did a few weeks ago that I just thought I'd kind of include here and just quickly highlight the process. So when we have our audiences, if we have no data, so then we start off with new ad sets. So we have to start with research and interest. We have no data, which means we can't have lookalikes. So we'll start off with interest, and that's based on the research from our audiences and our avatars. Then we create ads that are based on our 5W avatar as a best guess as what would work. So at this phase 1 stage, we fire up our audiences. We have multiple ad sets with the different audiences and different ads running and start testing those to see what works. Now, my preference for testing is I test for impressions, not spend. I know some people will say spend $25 if you get a sale, great. If not, then kill it. I test on impressions because CPM could be very different by niche and by product and by country and things like that. So I generally test, if I'm testing the purchase pixel, test for 3,000 to 5,000 impressions. So if your CPM is $10, if your CPM is $50, you'll spend as much as you need to get those impressions, because it's about getting enough data into your test to be able to test. So if your CPM is $50, for example, that means it costs you $50 to reach 1,000 impressions. And you say, right, if I don't get a sale after $25, I'm going to bin this ad set or ad. It means you're only testing with 500 impressions. That's not enough. And you could be making the wrong decision. So once we've found winning audiences, we move that into phase 2, which is now we start to create more and more creative and start really going quite deep into testing different angles, avatars, thumbnails for our videos, etc. At that stage, we also put them into a social proof page post engagement campaign as well. So that on the side, we're running those to our best audiences and just racking up social proof, so likes, shares, and comments as well. And then we're ready for phase 3. So when we do actually find a good audience, when we do find good ads, we move that for the way we run it, move it into a separate campaign. So at this stage, we're running CBO, we're letting Facebook decide where the budgets go, but we have multiple ad sets, multiple ads, and then kind of optimizing as we go. We're optimizing for which ads are getting the best performance. We might pause out ads. We're optimizing our landing page, so doing insights on why people are not buying, maybe not converting to the cart page, not clicking into the merchant, for example. And that's where the whole optimization phase comes in before we're ready to scale up. So this is all kind of wrapped up into what I call the BPM method, is the brand-driven performance marketing method. And if you notice, I didn't share many screens of ad account and structures and things like that, because what I want you to take away is when you put the effort into the brand part, what I call brand marketing, which is not your logo and your kind of style guide and things like that. It's actually really understanding your avatar, your core, your advertising core, getting your ads right, getting your funnel right. That for me is 80% of the effort. Then comes the performance marketing side, all the optimizations, the ad account structure and tweaks and things that you do over there. That's where, there's only three things then at that stage I focus on, which is, can I get more traffic at lower cost? Can I convert more people? And can I get a higher AOV and therefore improve my chances of getting a good lifetime value as well? That's then where all the data and performance comes in. And I've been in the world of affiliate marketing. It's all about data. It's all about fast scaling. I get that. But if you want to create something sustainable, if you want to take the stress out of Facebook advertising, then focus a bit more on the B of BPM, which is just getting deeper into your avatar and getting that part right as well. And this is where big success comes from. So, I did say don't follow people's big numbers and stuff like that. Monish actually did, and he actually posted to say he saw these big ROAS numbers and said, you can't scale and get those ROAS numbers. He actually did, and he, put it up there to as a motivation. And he actually hit those numbers as well, which is really cool as well. This is just an example of. So one thing I mentioned right at the start was this is an advertising philosophy. It's not just Facebook ads. This guy here, Faris, 2 years ago, he started implementing all this stuff on Facebook, had big success. In the last 9 or 12 months, he's taken this to Snapchat. He's now France's number one Snapchat, or one of the biggest Snapchat buyers in France, using the same process: avatar, core 4, ads formula, etc. Then when it comes to performance marketing, it's all tailored towards Snapchat. And that's the power of this as well. And, you might look at this and say, why isn't everyone therefore a Facebook ads expert if it's so easy? Everyone feels like they are until they get punched in the ROAS. When your CPA suffers, when your ROAS suffers, that's when people start to stress out. And that's where I guess the top 1% know what to do, because it's all structured, it's all SOP'd. I'm not a better marketer than the majority of people out there. I'm not more intelligent. I didn't do so well at school and stuff like that. But I understand the process, and that's what it comes down to, towards repeatable success. So this has been a SaaS-free zone. I'm sure, I hope that it didn't disappoint you, that I didn't have all these hacks and tricks and stuff. Yes, there's a time and place, especially when you don't have much money and you really need to grow fast and stuff. But you have to accept the stress and anxiety and the imbalance that comes with your performance. If you're looking for stability, then work beyond that and build structure and performance in. Forget about jumping straight into that race car and hitting the accelerator. Get the basics right, work on your brand, your avatar, and then put your foot down on the accelerator when it's ready, so that your customers are jumping into your funnel and they're ready to throw cash at your business as well. Thank you, guys. Hopefully that was useful. Hopefully you got at least 1, 2, or 3 takeaways from that. I'm Deepesh Mandalia. If you want to see a simple case study of the skiwear apparel brand, it's free case study, 21x.smcommerce.co.uk. Go and download that, go and follow that exactly. And I guarantee if you follow that, you'll get great results from that as well.
Great, Deepesh. So we have some questions from audience.
Absolutely.
So the first one is, for e-commerce brand and Facebook ads, what should be the true metric of success? Cost per click or cost per acquisition?
So as I said, like if you've got an e-commerce brand, for me, the success is lifetime value. Obviously, when you're starting off, you don't have lifetime value. You need at least like 6 months of data. So then I would say your goal isn't CPA, it's return on ad spend. Because the thing is, CPA could hide the fact that you're actually improving your average order value. So for example, if you've got a $20 CPA and that's just your goal, but your CPA goes to $25, but your average order value has gone from $50 to $80, your ROAS has actually improved. So even though your CPA has gone up from 20 to 25, your ROAS has also increased to a bigger number. So focus on return on ad spend and figure out how you can get a low CPA and a high average order value. So one thing that I like to do is offer, so for example, if it's a single product store, you can offer upsells, which is the same product for a slight discount. So now rather than spending $20 CPA and getting a $50 sale, you could get a $100 sale or $90 sale, which is one product for 50, the second one for 40. So now your $20 CPA is generating a $90 sale instead of 50. Therefore, your ROAS is better. So I would be thinking about upsells, cross sells, pre-purchase, post-purchase to work on my ROAS, not just the CPA.
Great. And our next question is from Udayveer. He wants to know, what's your take on limited ads per page rule?
So that's going to be rolling out in February 2021. So don't stress about it right now. If you've got a warning in your ad account, you can ignore it. It doesn't mean you need to not worry about it. So what happens with Facebook is sometimes they have an idea and they want to change something big. So if anyone's been following the journey on campaign budget optimization, Facebook was supposed to implement it across every single account around the world in February 2020. It did not happen because Facebook could not happen. And I think it's a good decision they made to not make it happen. So now Facebook are telling you by February 2021, your ads are going to be limited by page size, per page and by ad spend. Now, that's the plan. Whether it happens or not is 50-50. And secondly, if it does happen, then, if you go back to what the principles I've shared here, there shouldn't be really a case. I've looked at the limits and stuff. I don't think most people should ever be in that position that you are hitting those limits. Why did Facebook bring that in? It's because of affiliates and drop shippers and stuff like that are absolutely just copy paste ad sets and ads and just throwing everything at it without really having a structure on their marketing. So that's going to change. I think Facebook are looking for people to focus more on the user experience, on their brand, on their landing page, on customer service. And that's the way of advertising right now.
Okay, so our next question is, what's the ideal length for a Facebook ad title and description?
I don't focus on ideal length. I test. Obviously, when it comes to your ad and the first few lines of the ad copy, that for me is the most important. And then the kind of headline at the bottom is a secondary backup. I focus on testing because sometimes I've had longer descriptions that have been cut off, but the overall ad is performing well. It's, there will be a stage where you get to those micro optimizations, but first of all, get your great ads, your good performing ads, find your audiences that work, and then get to the micro optimization stage and find out what works for you. I don't think, this is not like Google. Google, you have harder limits on kind of what you can do. With Facebook, you have to test and see what works for you.
Right. So, we have around 3 minutes remaining, and I guess this can be one of our last questions. Does Facebook have any ad fraud detection mechanisms? And if you can elaborate on that.
They do. So if you've noticed in your ads manager, sometimes Facebook will say, hey, we noticed some fraud on their audience network and we're giving you 50 cents back, even though you're spending like hundreds of K, a month or whatever it is. It's not very good. And I don't think it's going to make any difference to your life. Does Facebook negate bot clicks and things like that? They say they do. I don't know. There are, there's software and services out there that actually do fraud detection for you. And I know some of them, I don't know them off by heart, but there are some that will give you the ammunition to go back to Facebook and say, look, we've identified this proportion of the traffic to the site is spam, is bot, and we want a refund. And people have made money back that way as well. So Facebook probably do. And I don't know if it's good enough. I doubt it. So, yeah.
Okay, so I guess we have time for another question. Can we place Facebook ad for affiliate products? It's by Yash Lewis.
You can, yeah. So Facebook aren't necessarily against affiliates. What they are against is bad user experiences. Now, if you're creating an ad and it clicks straight to your merchant, that's not permitted. So you need a landing page, and you need the landing page that has some substance. So one thing Facebook don't like is a landing page with no cookie policy, privacy, contact us, etc. So if you have an interstitial page, which is a page between your merchant and your click, then make sure it feels like a lander and it's got a bit of depth to it. So it's not just a single lander. You have a few pages, terms and conditions, etc., etc. That's what Facebook look for as well.
Okay, so Deepesh, I guess we'll end with this question. If you can quickly answer this, with
Sure.
tightening privacy regulations and Facebook restricting access to their platform, how does the future look for the smaller networks?
I think it's going to get harder and harder. They're really squeezing those affiliates and drop shippers out as much as possible. But like I've said, like go back to the early part of this deck, focus on the user experience, make sure it's what the ads that you're running are adding value to Facebook and also your user. And then it becomes a win-win-win situation. So yes, it's going to get harder for some of the networks, some of the products, some of the niches. Facebook isn't the only channel. I'm sure you know that as well, but it's certainly the fastest to test and it's one of the most scalable as well. But I think more and more, I think affiliates will find affiliates are amazing because they are hackers, and they're also bad because they're so bad at hacking as well. And it creates benefits and opportunities for the industry as well. I know that affiliates will find a way around everything, I think you have to choose your position. Am I going to hack for the rest of my career, or do I want to create something more sustainable? Do I want to create leads? Do I want to get people into my email list? You know, for example, Facebook advertising isn't just about click buy. Getting people into an email list, nurturing them, and actually owning that email, I think is far more valuable for an affiliate than just getting that click and sell.
Right. Great. So I guess that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for being here with us. It was a truly enlightening masterclass. I hope you also had fun being here with us. Another round of thanks to our mobile attribution partner branch. Our bronze partners Offer 18, Amar Ujala, The Indian Express, Celebite, and our knowledge partners, Nielsen. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.